Okay, ladies and gentlemen, it's that time again. Mr. Gary Kroger.
You've become very announcery.
Well, good, that's what I'm going for. I'm going
Yeah.
for now.
Well, hi, Ken.
Hey, buddy.
Hi, audience. I like to
Yes.
remind people that I'm on the East Coast, you're on the West Coast.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we share sensibilities, but we have different perspectives, live in different places,
Mm-hmm.
which is the genesis of our conversation.
Mm-hmm. So anyhow, how you feeling, Gary?
Well, I'm good. I'm good. I'm just frustrated because, and maybe you have an answer here. I don't have health. I have health care because I'm on Medicare.
Oh, good.
First of all, I was under the impression
Mm-hmm.
all these years, oh, when I'm 65 and I can
Mm-hmm.
when I retire and get Medicare,
Mm-hmm.
my health coverage is, no, I'm paying the fuck for it. It's coming out of my Social Security every month.
Me
I'm
too,
not
but
paying
it's way cheaper than
not
regular.
much. It all depends on what you make.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know what my number is, but I think it's like $500 a month. People are paying $1,500 a month.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and that's probably where I am, but I still thought that it was free. I thought that was the perk about getting old and you're on a fixed income. All right, so I pay for that, but you have
Mm-hmm.
to get part A and then you have to get part B. If you get part
Mm-hmm.
A, I don't think it does anything. You get
Well,
part B
B
and you
is the
can
supplemental, right?
B is supplemental, and then everything else is. If I want drugs, prescriptions or dental care or hearing,
Have you gone
then
to Trump?
that's
Have you gone to Trump RX?
no.
You know about
Are
it,
you
right?
saying yes? Should I?
And Mark Cuban was at the press conference when they announced the new drugs that are on Trump RX, and he's getting a lot of
What?
blowback, and I'm mad at him too. I used to like Mark Cuban, but I don't care. I don't, and he speaks out against Trump all the
Trump
time.
all the time.
But why is he showing up and standing behind Trump?
Shilling for Trump
Trump
RX.
RX, which may or may not be good. I'm just saying you don't stand behind or with, you don't
Right,
give him the
because it
satisfaction.
legitimizes him and it compromises everything that you offered as a criticism.
Yeah.
Because if you give him a morsel like, oh, but he's really good with prescription drugs, it opens the floodgates.
Oh, yeah, because all he can say is, hey, Mark Cuban, he loves me. Look, he showed up.
Right, right.
Yeah.
And it
Well,
negates his criticisms. Well,
how
no,
quickly? How quickly? What was that? Was it less than a minute that we got to Trump?
you did. I
I
would. I
did.
didn't. I look. If Trump RX costs me $1 for my Avoristatin, as opposed to the 150 it's costing me, I would still rather pay the money out of pocket than anything to propagate one of his ideas.
Well, because you're going to get something in the mail, a little box, and the box is going to have his
It's going
picture
to
on
say
it. It's
Trump
going to
on it.
say
Yeah.
Trump RX.
I'll feel like I'm putting that in my system. I'm Trumpanizing myself. I couldn't do it.
Oh no,
But the
it's
point I'm trying to make is I want to go to the dentist. I need to get my prescription drugs for my high blood pressure. My hearing is bad. Oh, well, you need supplemental Medicaid Advantage Part C, E, F, or
hmm
G. And then
hmm
I go online, Kenny, to investigate it. Well, put your phone number in and da 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 da, and you'll get a free quote right here. No, you don't get a free quote. I get 13 phone calls a minute, and they're all high pressure salespeople.
Okay,
Listen,
first of
don't
all,
hang up, and we will give you this for $15 less a month. Don't trust Humana. Da 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 da.
you
It's a
you did a
carnival
terrible you made a terrible beginner mistake.
by putting my phone number in. It wouldn't let me go on to the next phase
I
without
know,
putting my phone
but
number
that was a really beginner mistake.
in. What I
Never.
do?
You probably typed in, well, what do I do for this? And you came, and a
Yeah.
first link came up that sounded like a government
Yeah,
kind of
yeah, and
thing,
it
right?
even said
And it
yes.
said that, right?
Yeah, yeah.
No, it's spot. You have to really go stay on your Social Security app and only do it through your Social Security app. Do not go on anything. They are out there. It is absolutely predatory.
It's
What
predatory.
what
It's
all
worse
of these
than when
companies are
predatory
doing.
lenders were out there, pre-collapse of the economy. It's worse.
It's
It's
worse.
worse.
So you can't. So you now will. These people are going to be on
I'll have to
you.
change my number, won't I?
Yeah. There's no way out. Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. You should have called Kenny Hotline before you did any of this stuff.
Ken, now, what does Kenny RX offer? Will you send me your discards in a
No, I mean,
bottle?
to be honest with you, it's just like we have it pretty simple. The one thing that we don't have, which I wish we did have, is dental. You can't get dental through the government, which is really
No.
ridiculous because most old people, the biggest problem they have is their teeth.
Yeah, their teeth.
Is their teeth. My mother was that was 20 years. I mean, it was just, I mean, did your mother have her teeth? I mean, they had the dentures that they put on the side of
They,
the thing.
well, I remember my parents' teeth were just gold fillings. They looked like pirates, but it wasn't unusual for their generation to just have all of this metal in their mouth.
Dental is probably more as important as anything else medically. So why they don't have a Medicare coverage for dental, put that down on my list of things that need to be done.
Well, here's what I didn't know because I've always had previously insurance and it covered dental and vision and everything like that. If you go for a teeth cleaning, just
Hmm.
basic annual teeth maintenance, it's
Hmm.
only 150 bucks out of pocket.
It's not much. It's not much.
And if I go through one of these Medicare Advantage things, it's $200 a month. Well, that's $2,000
I
more than I
have.
would pay just out of pocket unless you need dental surgery.
Okay, put this down as
I'm writing it
number
down.
1052 of Ken's complaints.
Okay.
So, teeth cleaning, which by the way, I've had my teeth cleaned by this one woman for the past 35 years, and she
And
just retired. What am I going to do?
she knows your
He
bicuspids.
said she's been in my mouth for
She's
35
been in
years.
your mouth.
We've
What other
talked
woman
about
has been in your mouth that
nobody.
much?
Nobody.
Nobody.
Anyhow, so but this is a conversation that I had with her years ago. She was trying to establish a thing where the technicians who work in dental offices could simply open their own clinics where you just came in for a teeth
For
cleaning.
teeth cleaning.
It would have been cheap. It would have been
Wonderful
inexpensive.
idea.
They would have done it. It would have been so much better. But the medical association stopped it. And I think they put legislation to stop it because dentists wanted to, and Congress people and you could not do that. There had to be a dentist in the room in case there was a medical emergency.
But here's my problem with dentists. When you go to the dentist, it's like going to a mechanic. Well, we cleaned your teeth, but you really need to do a deep cleaning, and that's $500. They're always upselling. Like, yeah, we
Yes,
checked the
but
carburetor.
going back to my point, teeth cleaning. Had my teeth. I've never had a medical emergency. And you know what? If you have a medical emergency, getting your teeth cleaned, well, maybe if you can't handle your teeth being cleaned, you really shouldn't be outside. All right?
Right. You shouldn't be with people.
Yeah, you shouldn't be weepy if you can't handle the stress
Yeah.
of
The
getting your
teeth.
teeth cleaned. And but it would have brought that price down. Instead of having to make an arrangement with my dentist or whatever, I would just go down to the street. She'd be there. She'd clean
She'd
my
be there
teeth.
with floss and
And
just
teeth cleaning is the most essential thing. I have no
yeah,
problem with my teeth. You know why? Because I'm on the
your teeth
four
cleaning.
teeth cleaning plan. I don't go with 3 times a year, 2 times a year.
You
I
go
do it
4 times in a
four
year.
times a year to have
My
my teeth
teeth
cleaned.
now, well, I keep good care of my teeth and
Yeah,
I
you
have
got
good
lovely teeth.
teeth. But they ache now knowing that because I go once a year and my dentist says it should be 3 or 4 times a year.
Yeah, well, I do four, and
But I
I
also
approve it.
floss and I brush like a maniac and
Well, I know, but I'm just telling you. I think that the fact that I do go 4 times a year has made. I've had no problems with my teeth. Where I used to have problems with my teeth, but now no problems with my teeth or my gums. I used to have gum problems. So I know that probably that'd be interesting to our audience. But anyhow, you want to talk about the person we just
well,
talked
Eddie
to about a
Brill.
half hour ago?
Yeah, Eddie Brill. Eddie Brill is our guest.
Now, Eddie Brill is a stand-up comedian, and he's got a stand-up comedian name. I think anything like
Eddie
Eddie
Brill.
Brill.
I assumed the Brill building was his
Oh no,
grandfather.
yeah. Anyhow, so but I guess I saw his Facebook post about his time at the David Letterman show.
Yeah.
He was there for 17 years,
Mhm.
doing the warm up, and the warm up is how critical it is. And I don't know what people know about warm ups, but basically you're the audience fluffer, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
the audience fluffer.
Anyhow, so I saw
I don't
his.
know that everybody knows what a fluffer is. Why don't you explain a fluffer?
A fluffer is before you have a sex scene, you have somebody in the room who will get you erect and hard, right?
Hmm.
They fluff you.
They
I don't know
fluff you.
exactly. They whatever fluffing is, whatever the thing that they. I
It's
imagine they're going
oral
like,
copulation. Yeah,
yeah.
I don't think they just fluff your balls or
No,
anything.
just it's
I
not like,
think that there has to be copulation.
wow, what a job, huh? What a
Do you
job.
think it pays well? What do you
I
think a
should
fluffer gets
hope
paid?
so.
You should
I
hope
should,
so, but do porn stars get paid all that well? They don't. So
you know,
imagine what the
we
fluffer gets. That's
we should have
that's
had a
like the
fluff.
key grip operator compared to the star.
You know what? We need to get a fluffer on.
That's a great idea.
How can we get a fluffer? You know any fluffers?
I don't know any. Look, you're in LA. There's probably a fluffer within a mile.
And I wonder
There's
what's
probably someone
tax.
fluffing in this where in your neighborhood.
And I wonder if all their hygienic things that they buy, hygiene, are all tax deductible.
I wonder how often they get their teeth cleaned.
Ah, good point.
Or
Anyhow,
or is
back.
that considered a bleaching each time?
I don't know. But anyhow, back to Eddie Brill, who was posting about his reminiscence on doing the Letterman show as the warm up, and I thought his stories were interesting, so I thought let's ask him on. You knew him, so then we had him
Yeah.
on. I had done a lot of stand-up shows. I know Gary because he had hosted a show that I did called Comic Strip Live. I had not known you, but I guess I'm on your Facebook feed, and you started posting about your stories about being the warm-up for the Letterman show. And you wrote all this stuff, and I found it fascinating. And I
Yeah.
thought it would be a fun topic to talk about because who talks? I mean, basically, you're the fluffer for the audience, right?
Yeah,
You're the
exactly.
audience. You go out there and you get everybody all worked up. So when the person comes
Yeah,
out,
it's like, every single television show that has an audience has a warm-up person. And, the Letterman show was different than most because, I warmed up Dana Carvey show and I warmed up, the what's his face, Gabriel Byrne sitcom, and I warmed up Saved by the Bell, which was my first warm-up gig, which was horrific, but it got me money and it was across the hall from the Tonight Show with Johnny Carson. And it's an important job for the show, and I took it seriously, and I ended up getting so much experience at the Letterman show and other jobs out of it and getting close to Dave. It's like a dream come true. It was
that's great.
amazing.
That's great. Yeah,
Hey,
no, I always had warm-ups on all the shows that I've done, the
would you get? Do
sitcoms
you
and the
know,
half hours or
Kenny?
whatever.
Do you
And
even know that I did warm up?
no, I
I
did
did
not.
audience. I did audience warm up for game shows. So I
Ah,
was very interested in what you were doing, Eddie, because it's very different than the game show warm up. Now, my
yeah.
thing was the less I prepared, the better my warm up. In other words, I just let see people what they were wearing, who was paying attention, and it was all audience live stuff.
Yeah, that's
But
what I did with Gabriel Byrne's show, Madigan Men. I did
yeah,
that, and it was, you're spending 12-hour days, 14-hour days doing the warm-up. It's exhausting. Like
exhausting.
the Letterman show, I'd get in there, I'd get on stage at 5 and I'd leave it like at 6:45,
But
every
I
day.
saw you at the Letterman show. I saw you do your thing, and it was. I haven't formed this into a thought, but bear with me here. When I did my thing, it was game shows, right? A game show audience is getting paid, and they're sitting there, and my job was literally, like you say, Kenny, to be the fluffer.
Right.
And the more I could engage with them, the better. But they didn't really give a shit. They weren't there. They were there to see the game and to get paid and to kill the day. It
Yeah,
was a
but they need
tough
to be
job.
entertained. They need to be entertained. Otherwise,
And
you'll lose them.
I did with live improv stuff and things with them, right? And we'd sing
Right.
songs or whatever. But when I would read when I saw what you did and I read what you wrote recently, you're part of the show. You're a celebrity on that. And the audience was gassed to be there. And you facilitated between the star of the show and this electric, for the most part, audience. And I just thought, what a great fucking job.
Yeah, it was really wonderful, and I got to meet a lot of my heroes. Don Rickles was my father's favorite comedian, and then he my father wasn't that thrilled that I was doing stand-up comedy and not doing, he was an electronic wholesaler guy. And he wanted me to do his job. But when Rickles said really nice things about me on the air, my father like cried. He was so thrilled that his son, you know, was appreciated by his hero in comedy. And
Yeah.
then Rickles and I became very close. In fact, one of the greatest evenings of my life was me and Rickles and Letterman having dinner together.
Wow.
And I laughed for 2.5 hours.
So over the course of these years, and I know you've posted some of the highlights on Facebook, which again I thought were fascinating, and I'd love to have you repeat some of this stuff for our audience. But let's start off with your first memory, great memory, or whatever it was. And I want to go down the list of great memories to bad memories to who was the worst to who was the best.
Thanks for the memories.
Right, right,
Yeah,
right.
no, it was at the beginning. I was a little bit nervous, but it was, because Letterman was a hero, and there I was working with him. Letterman was very kind to me because we had a lot in common. We both were working in LA at the Comedy Store when we were younger comics, and we'd always talk about comics and comedy, and it was just kind of nice. It was the key was, I remember Bill Sheff told me at the beginning, he said, just be honest with him. That's all. That was the thing, because that's what he appreciates, as do I, as hopefully
So
most people do.
how long was your warm up? Well, you'd come out at what time and you had to perform for how long?
Clockwork too,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, it was literally clockwork. At 5:12, the audience was seated and the warm-up started. And I came out, introduced the video. They watched the video. Then I came out, did a little bit of shtick, and then I brought the band out, and then I brought Dave out. I brought Paul out. I brought Alan Coulter, and then I was done with the warm up, and that was
By what time?
and
So you had to be done with warm up at what
at
time?
5:30:00.
Exactly. They started the
Exactly.
show
There
exactly
was no 5:30 and 1 second. It was 5:30.
5:30.
We were a well-oiled machine.
Did in 17 years, did you ever have an incident with an audience member?
That was the only time that it was weird because you learn how to control the scenario, and there was no chance for anyone to be kind of a jerk or to mess things up. The
So there
audiences
was
were
never an incident. There was never an incident where was a heckler or somebody was intoxicated or any of that. It was so kind of
not really.
uneventful. Huh,
Yeah,
interesting.
it was, people were having a good time. First of all, the audience were not New Yorkers. I mean, there were
Mm,
some New Yorkers in the audience, but it was
Yeah.
mostly tourists. And this
Right.
was like going to Disney World, and here's the
Right.
e-ticket. I got to go to the Letterman show, and I went to the Statue of Liberty, and I went to the Empire State Building, and the Letterman show was part of the little tour. And and they were excited to be there, and they weren't always smart, or they weren't always understanding all the jokes because they might all be from Sweden or
mm.
some other countries,
Well,
you
that's
know.
what we found at Saturday Night Live too, because we would have 250 people, 500 people on a Saturday, but they were all for the most part tourists and people who waited 2 years to get there. So they weren't going to be drunk, they weren't going to heckle. It was a very manageable audience. But
Hmm.
audiences, as we all know, and you know, Kenny, every audience has a chemistry. They have an aggregate personality. And wouldn't you give signals to Dave like, you
Yeah,
know,
because the band's playing in the background, and Dave wants to know if it's a good audience or not. And he
yeah.
would send one of his assistants down, and I would give, thumbs up meant they were good. This was they were great. This was they sucked, and this was they blew. That was
Yeah.
my,
How
because you
often
couldn't
did you
hear
have to
me,
do
so
this? How
not
often?
often, but occasionally. I'll tell you an interesting story with me as a comic on the show with the audience. There was I think it was Eli Manning who was flying back from Denver in the Super Bowl, and his flight wasn't landing, and the show's taping, waiting for him to show up, and they go, Eddie, do you have a set ready? And I said, I do. I have a set ready. I can get ready to go because I had other comics ready, but the show is recording, and I'm
Right.
on the set after the warm up. I said, in my mind, I didn't, one of the things as a comedian on the show, well, here's another part. As a comedian, you get to choose the music you come out to. A lot of people didn't
Oh,
know that. Like
No.
Paul would play the songs that had to do with the guests and their movies, but as a comedian, you could pick your song, which was
What was your
great.
song?
always different. My first one was Paperback Writer. I even wrote a song that I could come out to, so I would do that.
Uh-huh.
And so, but I didn't, you need a joke that lasts 5 or 10 seconds. Something like, my grandmother told me the truth will set you free. Then she went to prison for perjury. Boom. You need something like that so that the audience respects you and trusts you and
Yeah.
knows that you can make them laugh. I mean, it's key. If you take a minute and a half to get your first laugh, it better be the most cathartic laugh because that's 1/3 of your set. So I didn't have one of those kind of jokes for the beginning, but I had written something at home that I thought was funny, and I thought maybe it would get a laugh. And the joke went, and this is how I started that set that I was last minute on the set. I said, New York is so crowded these days. The other day I was in Penn Station. There was like Grand Central Station in there was the joke. Okay, but you're laughing because you're American. Well,
Well, it's
these are
very
I
inside.
lived in
99%
New
of the
York.
people
Yeah.
who didn't get it.
You're
And
right.
the only laugh I got was from Bruce, the sax player, because it bombed so badly, you know? And I had to dig myself out of that hole, finally got him. It was okay. And when Dave came up to me, he went, how do you think that went? Kind of giving me shit when I went out there. But it's, the audience was from other countries and they
Well,
don't
can
know
I?
Penn
I
Station.
want to get some dirt. Who
Yeah,
of?
everyone wants dirt. I'm not
I know.
I'm not gonna
I,
shit on anyone.
I don't want you to shit on anybody. I want you to
Right.
tell me when, because you hung around for all the shows. Do you
Right.
remember whether it's dirt or whatever, any kind of dramatic moment with a guest that maybe turned into like, wait a second, hold on, we have a problem here, or you know, that's not working. Because Dave did have a couple of incidents with some celebrities that, you see these things on YouTube.
Like what?
Right. I
Well,
mean, it was what's his face? The guy who played Johnny Cash. Why can't I think of his name?
Joaquin Phoenix.
Joaquin Phoenix.
Joaquin Phoenix, right?
So I didn't, he was odd, but I'm not sure because I wasn't in on it if that was planned or wasn't planned. I don't know still to this day. There's
Right,
rumors about either one. But
Yeah.
Dave
right.
handled it beautifully. He says, I wish you could have been here,
Yeah,
something like
yeah,
that.
yeah.
That was the great thing about Johnny and Dave and Jack Parr. They were great at, in the moment, taking, just being incredible. And one of my favorite things is when the governor of Chicago, who was a big thief, he came on the show.
Oh,
He, you know,
The long name,
Brahmo. No,
Blagojevich.
He went
Blagojevich.
to Northwestern with me.
Ah,
He ate in the cafeteria with me.
he said to
Blagovich or
Letterman, he said, I
Blago.
wanted to be on the show in the worst way. And Dave said, well, you got your
You
wish.
got your wish.
Yes, you know. I mean, Dave
Yeah.
was brilliant, and it still is. It was a pleasure when you're working. The great thing about the show was that it was the best lighting people in show business. It was the best producers. It was the best comedy writers from Harvard. It was, I worked on a high level with all these
Yeah.
incredible people. So I had to take my game up to that level, which we all loved because we were putting out an incredible product and every day.
Well, that's what I
And
remember when I went to the audience. A couple of tapings.
Hmm.
Is that you were in a suit, you looked showbiz, the music comes out, you come out, I know you had housekeeping to do, like, hey, folks, don't
Right.
stand, don't blow your nose or whatever, whatever. But then you'd bring out the band and they would play this incredible set, and then you'd introduce Paul, the place would go
Yeah.
nuts. And then
I
Dave
even
would,
sang with the band, which was really
yeah.
fun.
Well, it just was such a complete show to watch you do it.
Yes.
So, I mean, it was,
Supposedly learned from what's his face from the Tonight Show with Johnny Carson.
oh,
Yeah,
from Eddie, Freddie de Cordova. Did
Freddie
he?
de Cordova, yes. So it was, I think he taught Dave and Dave's producers how to do a warm up. He's bring the audience in, don't let them sit around for a long time, start the show. And it really helped. I mean, the whole show taped in like 70 minutes, even though it was a 60-minute show.
let's talk
Okay.
about the idols that you might have met.
Sophia
Uh,
Loren, when I was a young kid, all my kids my age had the picture of Farrah Fawcett. Farrah Fawcett. I had a picture. I was the one who had Sophia Loren. I loved her as an actor, as a gorgeous person, as everything about her was dream come true. And when she was on the show, I was nervous, and I wanted, if the opportunity came, I would have loved to have met her. I happened to be in the sort of what they call the airlock, and there she was looking at me, and I just told her that story that I had her poster, and she kissed my hand
Wow.
and just said, "It's so lovely to meet you." And it was, I mean, that was one of the biggest thrills of my entire
And
life.
she lived up to the beauty, huh?
Yeah, she really was, and smart and funny. I
Yeah.
remember seeing Dick Cavett on television, and she was the guest, and she had him befuddled because she was so beautiful and funny and smart and
Hmm.
everything you
Is there
dream of.
somebody that you met that you thought they're not as beautiful as I thought they would be in person? Or maybe they're more
Eh,
Alec
beautiful?
Baldwin.
What about maybe
yeah,
more
he was
beautiful
handsome.
than I thought, better looking than I thought that they would be?
You know who the nicest person was? Lyle Lovett. He
Not
was,
Okay.
surprised.
there were a million nice people. It really was. People would say, "Oh, wait till this happens," or whatever. That person's not great. But Lyle Lovett was the kind of guy, and Drew Carey as well, and a few other people, Bruce Willis, who would go up to the camera folks and say, "Hey, how you doing? Nice to see you again."
Wow.
And I always remember that because those are the people who were really, it really made a difference. You're seeing every star in the world, and a lot of people are nervous, and some people are drinking because they're nervous. And
Yeah.
so when you had someone like Lyle Lovett come up, we were excited to have him on the show.
Well, you had every A-lister there was. I mean, you were there for
Every
all those shows when Bill Murray would come down from the audience with a headdress or whatever. All
right.
those shows, you were there.
Well, that's the beauty of the show. There were some people who would do whatever it took to get the laugh. They would
Yeah.
work really hard and set it up. There was a guy named Matt Roberts who was one of the executive producers and one of the head writers who was really a great writer. I mean, they were all great writers, but Matt was one of the best. And when he would have like Martin Short or the people, he would work with them and put these bits together with them, and I was in awe of how funny they were and how musical some of the numbers were. Nathan Lane, these are people who came to the show and brought the goods.
Well, you were there when Robin Williams did the show a couple of
Always. And
times.
I got to know him very well. And he
Hmm.
would recommend comedians for me to book. And, the last time I saw him, it was my birthday and I was working up in Mill Valley, California. And I had mentioned on Letterman, next week you'll see Eddie Brill at the Throckmorton Theater in Mill Valley. And he showed up to wish me happy birthday and give me a hug. And that was the last time I saw him. But it was
Hmm.
just, he was a very incredible guy.
That's right. You booked comics on that show as well, right?
Yeah, that was great. I had a comedy club in 1984. I started it called the Paper Moon, and I brought in a lot of people who ran that club. It became the Boston Comedy Club,
Yeah, it
but
was
I
in Boston,
started
right?
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I started in '84, and it was like Adam Sandler, one of his first places he went to. Wendy Liebman, Colin Quinn, Susie Essman. I was a comic running a comedy club.
Did you go over their sets before they went on?
Yeah,
Who
we
who did
and ran
who
to
who
clubs with them and.
who did you bring on that you're particularly fond of the fact that this
Well,
was
the
your
best
booking?
story forever. There was a guy I saw in Boston named Joe Wong from China, and his accent was, he wasn't that understandable to people who weren't used to hearing Chinese sort of twang to his voice. And I said to him, "You're one of the most brilliant comics I've ever seen, and I'd love to put you on Letterman, but we got to work on for you to be understandable." And he understood that to be understandable. And we worked on the set, and it was great. I was very proud of it. And he went on the show, and so one of the producers was not thrilled. But I believed in him and I got him on anyway. And he blew the roof off the joint. And Letterman signed him to a 2-year deal. And Ellen DeGeneres called and had him walk on the red carpet for the Emmy Awards. And then Biden brought him on the, correspondence dinner. And he just became a big star at home in China because he was one of the first Chinese comics in America on television. And then, so I was interviewed by all the Chinese newspapers, and
Oh,
I'm
that's
really
great.
proud of how hard we worked on him, and he done very well for himself because of
Yeah.
it.
You're in New York. You're a comedian. You can play clubs. There aren't a whole lot of TV shows to do.
Right.
How are you weaving together this era for Eddie Brill?
I'm a workaholic and I love it. And before I worked at Letterman, I would do between 500 and 600 sets a year. I would run all over the place, traveled all over the world. I performed in Bangladesh and in Australia and Paris and all these great things. So I still do stand up. My son is a stand up comic and I work with him a lot. Dan, who's going to be in the new Spielberg film that comes out in
Disclosure
June.
Day?
Yeah, he has a part in that, which
Really?
is really
Wow.
exciting.
Well, can
I
we
also,
interview him?
what's that?
Can we interview him?
I'm sure you could.
A whole season of
I'm very proud of
Brills.
him. He's a great actor, great comedian, and
That's
we
great.
have a lot of fun together and we work together. And also, I teach workshops. Now, you can't teach people to be funny, but it's a feedback workshop where we all help each other out by being each other's eyes and ears. And I've been doing that all over the world for 30 years. Create the Catskill Comedy Festival. I'm one of the
Yeah.
producers of that festival. For me, the thrill is that I love what I do, and that my heroes were fans of my comedy, like
Mhm.
Rickles and Carlin and all these people. I've had these
Fantastic.
amazing experiences in the world. I'll tell you an interesting story. I wrote a joke. I loved Carlin. He was my hero.
Yeah.
And when I was 5, my parents got me a joke book, and there was a joke in there, and it said, "What did Tennessee?" And the answer was the same thing, Arkansas. And I was 5 years old, and
Classic, though. It's
yeah,
well
Great.
and I
structured.
laughed and
Yeah.
laughed and I love wordplay, and so I
Yeah.
started doing wordplay at home. And I would go, I put a picture of a battery and salt shaker, assault with a battery, assault with battery. I just did that, and then I saw Carlin on the Tonight Show, and he's my hero and wordplay galore. So I wrote a joke eventually when I became a comedian, like, how can you have a word like nonchalant when there's no such word as chalant? And then
Mm.
I acted it out. Oh my God, I'm late for work. I can't find a thing to wear. God, am I chalant today? It's like, calm down, Ray. Be like me, nonchalant. And although it was my joke, it was very Carlin-esque because
Uh-huh.
when you're a young comedian, you act like your favorite comedian.
Right.
Mm.
You look at Seinfeld and Robert Klein, you look at Chris Rock and you got Eddie Murphy, you act like so, but I wrote it and I never heard Carlin do it. So I did it on television and I got a call from a comedian going, "Hey, you're doing George Carlin's joke." I go, I wrote it and Carlin doesn't do it. It's just very Carlin-esque. He goes, "No, I saw Carlin do it at a show in Vegas." And I was like, "Oh, damn it." So years later, I was in Las Vegas and I saw Carlin in the lobby of the hotel. And I said, "Look, I just want to let you know that I wrote a joke and I did it on TV. And when I heard that you did the joke, I took it out of my act." He goes, "Well, first of all, you're smart to take it out of your act because people are going to think you stole it from me. But number two, a friend of mine told me that joke, and I thought it was an original thought of his. So I said, 'Can I do the joke?' And he ended up doing it. And he goes, 'It turns out I'm the son of a bitch who stole your joke.'" So he didn't do it on purpose, but it just happened to be he did it.
Well, the other
And you'll
thing that we didn't mention was that you had a podcast like 10 years ago.
I've had like 4 of them.
Do
The
you
the
still
first
have
one
one?
I had 11 comics: Jim Gaffigan, Colin Quinn,
I
David
listened.
Tell, Caroline Ray, and I was very Stephen Wright.
do you stay in touch with Dennis Leary?
Yeah, Dennis and I were freshmen. Well, he was a year older than me in college. We started the comedy group together, and we were roommates in Boston. We were roommates in New York. We have a long history. We love baseball. I love the Mets. He loves the Red Sox. We, he, but yeah, we've known each other since we're kids. This year in September is 50 years since we all met, the comedy
Wow.
workshop people. And so we're doing a thing at the college, and Dennis will, of course, will be part of it. And there's so many incredible comics
Well,
who I love
Emerson,
Dennis.
isn't that
That's where
Norman
everybody
Lear's
came.
alma
Stephen
mater?
Wright, Mario Cantone, Lauren Dombrowski, uh, just so many comics. The Bill Burr.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, and we were
Wow.
responsible for bringing comedy to the college. So, and
Well, there you
Norman
go.
Lear and I worked together on this comedy thing, and It's again another dream come true. And I've had a lot of help. Like Carlin helped me. My first set I did on Letterman, Joan Rivers helped me with my comedy helped my set together. David Brenner helped me a lot. Sam Kinison
I
got
love
me a lot of
David.
work. Robert Schimmel took me on the tour with him around the world.
I love
So
Robert.
I've had a lot of help, and I vowed that I would be the comic that they were, and I help a lot of young comics. I just had a guy over here an hour ago, and I was working on his material and giving him confidence. And again, you can't teach someone to be funny, but you can, give ideas back and forth and share ideas. So, yeah, it's all good. I'm
Well,
happy. I'm
thank
ready
you.
for what's next.
Thank you so much, Eddie. It was a pleasure to finally meet you. I'm surprised our
Yeah.
path hadn't crossed sooner.
All right. Well, be well. It was a pleasure.
Okay,
See you
bye-bye.
later.
See ya. Bye.
We want to thank Eddie Brill for being on the show. I personally want to thank you, Kenny, just for
Oh,
being
don't
there.
thank me,
For
Gary.
being the font of wisdom that you are, guiding me down the insurance cobweb, the matrix of bullshit and endless phone calls that I'll now receive the rest of my life.
What a great title to a movie.
What I just said.
The Matrix of
The
Bullshit.
Matrix. I don't know. Sounds crazy. So thank you to our guest in conversation, Eddie Brill. Thank you, folks, for watching and or listening. As you may know, we're on all the popular podcast platforms. We are on YouTube TV, The Gary and Kenny Show. We answer our mail, so send us a comment, give us a thumbs up, subscribe if you like, and we're on DB TV streaming television.